Okay, I make that 1400 CET, and we like to be precise here at ENEX. Thank you all so much for joining us for our webinar, Verifying Sources and Detecting Fakes at ENEX. Nobody needs me to tell them about the dangers posed by fake news, both to the working of our democratic systems and to our own brand safety. 2024 will see national elections in 64 countries around the world. And when you include the upcoming European elections, it means decisions will be taken on how half the world is governed for years to come. We already know that there are people out there keen to take advantage of the ways in which fakes and untruths can subvert these elections. So how do we ensure that we as news organizations are part of the solution and not part of the problem? Today, you're going to hear from Andras Visler, a news editor here at ENEX, with an interest in how we can use those AI tools to tell our stories as efficiently as possible to our increasingly global audience. We'll be joined by Joe Smoltz, who has extensive experience on the commercial side of news production, including a sizable spell at Reuters, who will today introduce Reality Defender, a deep fake detection platform that allows users to automatically flag up this kind of misleading content. But first, I will introduce Colin McGlinchey, a verification specialist who heads up the ENEX Discovery team. He will show us how the emergence of these AI and deep fakes has emphasized the importance of our ongoing fight to authenticate all our news content here at ENEX. And just a quick word on how we're going to run the webinar itself. If you have any questions that are prompted by any of the presentations, please type them into the Q&A section, which you should see at the bottom of your screen. And then when we get to the end of the whole webinar, we will take a little bit of time. Hopefully we'll have some left. And we will address as many of those questions and concerns as we can. And not to worry if we don't get to yours. In the chat section, you will also see the contact details for everybody involved in today's webinar, and we'll be really happy to follow up with you. So no further ado, I'd like to give you Colin McGlinchey.
Thanks, Mark. So hello and welcome to today's webinar. Let's get my show working here. Hosted by ENEX on verifying sources and detecting fake news. I think we've estimated around 40 minutes to an hour for this, so we'll see how that works out. And hopefully we'll be able to give you some insights into what we do at ENEX to combat fake news and how we've been dealing with the onslaught of AI in the newsroom. So first, introductions. As Mark was saying, my name is Colin McGlinchey. I'm a senior digital editor at ENEX, previously of Storyful. Most of my work concerns user-generated content, or UGC, coming from social media platforms like Telegram, Facebook, etc. So as you've been involved with ENEX before, you've probably encountered me telling you about how at ENEX we source, verify, and clear the rights to UGC and offer our expertise in this to our partners. Joining me today, as Mark said, is Andras, who's a news editor and a technical coordinator at ENEX. And Andras has been heavily involved in keeping ENEX up to speed with the latest in AI, so he'll be assisting us today with that. So briefly, just very quickly, for those of you who aren't familiar with the European News Exchange, or ENEX, for short, we are an association of some of the leading commercial TV broadcasters around the world, which share their news content and production resources. We're based in Luxembourg at the RTL City, home of RTL, and some of the organizations who are members of ENEX include BFM in France, Caracol in Colombia, Sky in the UK, 50 or so partners currently. So given our large number of news partners, most of our content is coming from professional journalists that we regularly work with and that we trust. Our partners are going out and filming the news in their area themselves and sharing this with us on our system. So we have 100% trust in the source of the news that we're getting from our partners. Where things get a bit more difficult is with ENEX Discovery. This is where we source, verify, and clear the rights to user-generated content. Video and images not coming from journalists that we know and trust, but from members of the public on platforms like Twitter, Instagram, the dreaded TikTok, Reddit, all that kind of stuff, many, many more. So we need these kind of videos. They can't be ignored. They are vital to us covering the news. A gun attack at a university in Prague, we can have video from the scene, from social media, use it right away while we wait for our camera crews to get safely to the scene. A fire in Notre Dame, the war in Ukraine, lots of news stories and locations that prove difficult to report from. We can have content as soon as it happens. So I'm going to show you a quick video really quickly. It's an example of some of the kind of stories that we cover under ENEX Discovery. So a lot of different topics going on there. You got your hard news, you got Gaza, you've got earthquakes in Japan, but then also the more kind of virally, more fun news, like the whale hitting the surfer, or the line in the back of the car in Thailand. But as we all know, these platforms that we source this kind of news from, they're not the most straightforward to deal with. How they are used by the users, how their owners decide to display information, what kind of visibility they give us on that. All these things change all the time. I mean, you can't just learn one technique to approach them with. You have to constantly evolve with the platforms. And of course, they are also a hive for fake news, misinformation intended to deceive. If this finds its way into your news organization coverage, it can be extremely damaging to your reputation. So, as I'm sure we're all aware, we have to verify everything we see online that is not from a trusted source. And most of the time in our line of work, what we see is real video, but it has wrong information. Like, yes, this is a video of a shooting in a metro station, but it's from Moscow 8 years ago. It's not from Paris today. Or yes, this is a hurricane in Florida, but it's from last year and not the one that we're trying to cover at this moment. So first of all, we'll start with the fun stuff. Sharks. Our news partners love weather videos: snow, polar vortexes, hurricanes, torrential rain. They're all very popular videos. They're a great visual story, and of course, global warming at the moment and the environment are big topics. At ENEX, we spend a lot of time looking at the weather. And every time there's a drop of rain and rumors of flooding start online, these kind of pictures start flooding in. Sharks on highways, sharks in shopping malls, very well traveled, very well spent sharks. We obviously dismiss these kind of videos and images, but it's worth asking, why do these trend? Why is someone trying to capitalize on this trending event by sharing these kind of images? And if you think about how the situation happens, flash flooding occurs. Cities are quickly turned into chaos. Buses are cancelled, roads are blocked. Local people are glued to their screens, looking at landmarks they know covered in water, trying to get as much information as possible about how it's going to affect their day-to-day life. So anything visually interesting is going to be shared rapidly online. So some people might post an image like this as a joke, purely for the thrill, no bad intention, but some people will do it to drive traffic to their account. Maybe they have a monetized URL they want people to click on, and for a fraction of people to go there, click on it, that might give them some value. So this might be lighthearted and a bit of fun, but the same motivation applies to people who use similar tactics for more serious news. So this is a video of allegedly from Hurricane Irma, a few years ago in the Caribbean. It got 35 million views on Facebook, but it's not what it says it is. So what we done here was we done a reverse image search and some digging around on this video. And you can see there's details here like BBVA is the logo there. I think this they don't have any offices in the Caribbean, which is where the uploader was claiming this video happened. So it revealed to be from a different country, Uruguay, and it's actually not of a hurricane, it's of a tornado. So the reverse image search helped us get to the bottom of that. I'll show the original video here. So this happens a lot with weather videos. You get a whisper of a tsunami, and old videos of tsunamis from a decade ago start to circulate online, claiming to show current events. And it's also evident when a shooting happens or a terrorist attack. Social media is awash with rumors of the attacker's names, or images start being shared from different places at a different time. And just one really quick thing, something to note here, we'll come back to this later, but we're always looking for the story of the video. What details is it giving us to us? Is it giving to us that tell us where it's been? So here we can see there's a difference in resolution, not much, but a bit. Like the YouTube resolution, which we know is the original video, has a much higher resolution than the Facebook video, which got 35 million views on Facebook, but we know isn't the original. So we'll talk about this again in a minute, but worth noting the resolution differences between the video there when it comes to the sources. So as I mentioned, we used a reverse image search in debunking this video. And what a reverse image search does is it takes a frame from a video and it searches online for any other occurrences where this has happened, and it gives you the results. In this case, the reverse image search led us to an old article containing the original YouTube video. There are several tools to do this. I'll put them all into a toolkit and share it at the end to a PDF or something. But be careful with reverse image searches. They are very limited. Understand what they are doing. It is analyzing the pixels in a single frame, turning them into a numerical value, and then searching online for reoccurrences or similar reoccurrences online of this value. So if we're dealing with images and videos with very clearly defined lines and colors, some kind of video cubism, this might be successful. But we're not. Most often we're dealing with dark, blurry, out of focus video. So unfortunately, as with a lot of verification tools, reverse image searches can help us, but they can only do so much in getting us towards our verification goals. So in verification, we tend to use several tools combined to get the job done. Geolocation is a tool that's most often showcased. It's usually the most exciting one to show, using various mapping tools to show us exactly where the video happened. Again, I'll put several of these mapping tools into a toolkit we can take home. And there's loads of different tools you can use for geolocation, but whichever one you're most comfortable with is usually the one that will work in a breaking news situation when you're constrained for time. So I'll show you a video here. This is a guy in Manchester skiing down a road during a snowstorm. This was posted to Twitter. The uploader said it happened in West Didsbury. So I simply look on Google Maps for West Didsbury in Manchester. And I can see behind the guy here on the left, he has a Central Road showing on the sign. So I'm going to type into Google Maps, show me where Central Road is in West Didsbury. And it will show me a strip of road down here on the right. And I can tell that he's at a T-junction. So I know he's at one end of that road. So what I'll do is I'll drop my Google Map man I'll take a chance on one of the sides, and it'll show me the street view. And there we are. If I zoom up here, I can see there's the hoarding behind them. There's the road sign for Central Road. So that's that video geolocated. It's a fun video, and it's a simple example of geolocation, but we can say with certainty where this individual was and in what direction they were moving in. Had this been a more serious video, like somebody fleeing from a crime scene, that might help us fill out details in telling the story. This is a more complex video. This is the Iraqi incursion into Kurdistan a few years ago. The uploader has it tagged as Zakau in Iraq, but I had my suspicions that this wasn't the location, as most of the fighting that day had been occurring in Alton Capri, a different area. So I managed to identify a few objects, including these telephone poles here that you can see visible above the barrel of the tank. And I managed to, if I play this here, managed to find these and a few other things like a road sign there on Bing Maps. You can see the shadow from them there. And this helped me pinpoint exactly where that person was. And it was Alton Capri, and I could tell exactly where they were and what way they were looking. So different mapping tools tend to cover different regions better, but again, most of the time, choose your favorite and stick to it. If you're doing a long form investigation, you might have time to dig into Bing or Yandex and see if they give you any additional detail. But if you're in the newsroom and want to verify as quick as possible, chances are you will use Google Maps or Apple Maps, and they're what you can work with the quickest. Now, you can spend minutes or hours geolocating videos. The level of detail depends on the story and depends on the importance of the video. But I'm not going to spend any more time talking about geolocation because there's loads of videos online to teach you this kind of thing. Most teenagers these days could geolocate your video in 5 minutes. If you want to get good at it, you simply have to sit down with some videos, try, fail, and try again. So as this webinar wants to address our concerns regarding AI, I'd like to concentrate more on source. Something I'll always stress with AI is before we even start to analyze the visuals, let's analyze the source of where it came from. The further the video is away from the original source, the more likely it is to have changed. This could be minor changes like video compression or major changes like AI manipulation. So the first thing I want to ask about is video resolution. If a video shows signs of compression, we have to ask ourselves, why is this? If a video is heavily pixelated, very low quality, why did this happen? Because most smartphones today film resolution of 1080, even 4K or 8K. Sorry, 640 will be considered quite a low resolution. 720 would usually be the lowest I would expect. And a low resolution can mean one of two things. Either it was filmed on a very old phone, which rarely happens, even in the poorest parts of the world, or it is being compressed. If it's being compressed, what this tells me is that this video has been through a journey. Either someone else filmed it and it got sent to them, and every time we send video on most messaging platforms, it's compressed. WhatsApp, for example, will strip most of the metadata and reduce some of the resolution to send it quicker. The other way it may have been compressed is if someone filmed it and used an editing app on their phone before posting. Either way, the compression is telling me the story of the video. Facebook, YouTube, we can see the resolution of some of the videos. Twitter, we can see it if you use some other tools that, again, I'll put the toolkit. Instagram and a few others, they will compress the video to their standards. So on these platforms, we can only really judge with our eye. So the other thing we're going to look at, along with the resolution of the video, is the uploader's digital footprint. A video has appeared online that interests you, but who is posting it? How do we know that they're a genuine person and that they are in the location that they claim to be at that time? So if they've posted a video to Facebook, do they have an Instagram account you can cross-reference? Do they reply to comments on their posts? Does the language they use look natural? Is there consistency in their posts? How would a real person post? If someone's posted a video from New York on Monday, then Shanghai on Tuesday, and then Helsinki on Wednesday, there's a good chance it's not their videos or that they're not a real person, you know. They're maybe posting other people's content is what's happening there. You do occasionally get someone like a flight attendant, but the chances that they're, you know, being involved in a major news story is usually quite slim. So we're looking for evidence that the person who uploaded the video is real. So I'm going to show you two examples. One is somebody who what I would say has a good digital footprint, and the other is this one, which has not so good digital footprint. This is allegedly a video from Hurricane Lisa in Belize, according to the uploader. So first of all, the resolution is quite low. You can see it here. I've checked it and it's 352 by 640. So straight away, I don't think this is their video. I have my suspicions. So I'm going to start trying to build a digital footprint for the uploader. I can see their profile has them based in Nicaragua. And when I scroll to their account, I see videos from different locations: Australia, Mexico, Japan. I can go and look at their Threads account. I can look for them on LinkedIn, but already I'm satisfied that this isn't the original source. So this video is of no use to me because I need the original source. I don't want to take video that may potentially be filmed by an agency or a reporter, and then we end up in a whole copyright situation. So I'm not going to waste my time geolocating this video or doing any further verification on it. But in this example, despite the fact that we dismissed the video, several video licensing agencies did actually contact this uploader and ask them for permission to use the video. And luckily, the person came back and said, actually, no, this isn't mine. Because had they just said yes, they would have used it, and it could have happened. It could have opened the whole, not a whole copyright situation for them. So I'll show you another video.
Yeah, that one over there looks like it's sliding south of you, but the hill's on the north edge of it. Up by here. Okay, the hill's north of the tornado.
Not the most exciting video, but just want to get something more recent. So that's from Missouri a few weeks ago. There's not a lot of geolocation I can do with this video. It's of the formation of a tornado. The setting is rural. There's no real landmarks to geolocate. So I really want a thorough digital footprint for this uploader. So I look at the resolution. The resolution is good. I like his Twitter account. He tweets a lot about NASCAR. He interacts with people. He seems genuine. He has jokes with his friends, all those kind of things. I even found a dormant Facebook profile for him that posts about NASCAR as well. So I know this person is real. I'm happy with the source. I'm going to talk to them, see if we can clear the usage for the video. So yeah, that's my example of a good digital footprint. So now we're going to look at how source applies to manipulated media. So the next video is what's known as a shallow fake. No AI manipulation, but alterations to the speed. And in this case, it's to make it appear that Nancy Pelosi is intoxicated.
We want to give this president the opportunity to do something historic for our country. We want to give this president the opportunity to do something historic for our country.
So in this example, the video has been slowed down to give the appearance that Pelosi is intoxicated. You've probably seen other videos like this, sometimes they're speeded up to make it appear like a politician is struggling to climb a step. But like, I look at the source of this, one look at the source, Politics Watchdog reveals a right-leaning Facebook page reposting a lot of other people's content. So the first thing here, I'm fairly certain, looking at their page, that they didn't film this clip of Nancy Pelosi. Instead, they took it from somewhere else. And again, I want to get to the original source. I've came to this conclusion because nothing here is unique to them. Stock images, C-SPAN content, etc. So where did they get the video from? They got it from stream from the Washington Post, which when played, as you saw, was fine, no slurring, and also much higher quality resolution. The video wasn't as blurry as the one that Politics Watchdog had. So before we do any digital investigation of this video, we can already say that it's of no interest to us because the source is rubbish. The Washington Post version is close to the source and doesn't have Pelosi slurring her words. We want the original source or as close to it as possible. So in this case, Rudy Giuliani shared the Politics Watchdog video. He then deleted it, and Trump referenced it based on Giuliani's share. So it managed to have some impact in its short existence. But at ENEX source is key to verification. Most of our time isn't spent checking Google Maps, looking for landmarks and videos, or running reverse image searches. Most of our verification work is done by looking at the source. And a lot of the time, the source looks like this. Why would an account that posts other people's content suddenly have access to a Nancy Pelosi exclusive? They wouldn't, so we discount them. And when it comes to AI manipulation, before we even start to analyze the visuals we're seeing, we look for the source. There's a video appears online of Joe Biden saying something crazy. Who posted it? Is there other video showing the same thing from other angles? Is it from a press conference? Is there a live feed? We're asking these basic questions first before we can take the source seriously. So now this Pelosi example is a shallow fake. So I'm going to hand over to Andras Visler from ENEX, who's going to demonstrate some experience he's had with creating deepfakes. Andras?
Thanks, Colin, and hello everyone joining us online. So in my section, I will try to show you the potential of AI tools in the news industry, and we'll show you how you can utilize them even today as a simple user and no expert in the field. So you might remember there was a journalist in Ukraine after the start of the war, who became famous after he reported in 6 different languages, which he spoke, which is quite a feat. And it quickly became an internet sensation, attracting over 18 million views on social media. That's him on the right-hand side. Philip Crowther is his name, and he's from our home turf. He's from Luxembourg, actually. But the thing is that although this was quite a unique feat, in the future, we might be able to do the same with the help of AI. Of course, there were a couple of translating tools, even video translating tools available online. But last year, an AI tool called Hagen has launched and really changed the game. It not only translates the video, but it translates the video on the speaker's own voice. And it also does a fairly decent lip sync to it. I prepared the video earlier on just to demonstrate to you what you can do with this tool.
そして今、私は日本語を話しています。面白くないですか？で、実際に私はこの字幕も AI で作っています。それは音声からスクリプトへの AI です。それが私が言っている字幕を読む方法です。Jetzt kann ich Deutsch sprechen, so dass ich es nun auch selbst sprechen kann. Aber für die Demonstration ist dies, wie das Programm es macht. So macht es Hagen. Und es macht einen guten Job. También puedo hablar español con solo chasquear los dedos y estoy hablando español en este momento, lo cual es realmente sorprendente. Me encanta poder comunicarme en varios idiomas. Creo que mi conocimiento de español real es de 3 o 4 palabras o incluso un poco más que eso mismo, sin lugar a dudas. إذا كان كل هذا مثيرا للاهتمام جدا وأعتقد أننا سنرى تداعيات ذلك في المستقبل. لقد قدمت يوتيوب بالفعل ترجمتهم الصوتية، ولكنها ليست ترجمة مطابقة تماما للمحتوى الأصلي. ليست مزامنة الشفاه وليست صوتك الخاص. Και ο Hagen κάνει επίσης μια ζωντανή έκδοση αυτού. Και δεν είμαι σίγουρος αν έχετε δει τα νέα, αλλά πριν από 2 εβδομάδες μια κινεζική εταιρεία πλήρωσε πάνω από $25 εκατομμύρια για απατεώνες που ζήτησαν από έναν υπάλληλο της εταιρείας να κάνει βιντεοκλήση. Και όλοι εκεί ήταν πλαστοί. Όλοι. C'était juste un jumeau numérique et ils ont essentiellement tous ordonné à ce gars de transférer l'argent avec l'aide de quelque chose comme Hagen ou peut-être Hagen lui-même. Donc, l'avenir est prometteur, mais nous devons vraiment faire attention à la façon dont nous utilisons cette technologie.
So that was the video. I really hope that your bandwidth made it justice. The lip sync itself, trust me, it works fine. The real bottleneck is not that. We do share some 10, 12 languages in the ENEX newsroom. So I had plenty of opportunities to ask native speakers of what they think of the quality of the translation. And the first reaction is that they are impressed. They are impressed how far the technology has come. But the second note is always finding the little mistakes. So if you're a native speaker of any of the previous languages, you have probably heard some odd phrases, some straightaway mistranslations, or just an odd accent, which happens, for example, with the Spanish. My Spanish colleagues tell me. But all in all, it's very, very close. The real bottleneck is the translating tool that they are using. Based on my playing around with the tool Hagen, I can tell you that most likely they are using some kind of a large language model in the background, because often their emphasis is on a fluent end product and not a very, very precise translation. So what I did is I went online and I tried to see what is the best translating tool currently on the market. But Tencent, the Shenzhen-based multimedia company, has made an evaluation. They have also included ChatGPT for machine translation, which is now most of the time in pair with the big traditional translating tools. When it comes to the so-called big resource languages, so English, Spanish, and all the big languages which they can sample a lot of data from. But with the smaller language, they advise you to use so-called pivot prompting. So first translating it to a big resource languages and then translate it to the second language you want to reach. The end conclusion of this was that DeepL, the Cologne-based translating tool, seems to be the most accurate one. But it does not have as wide of a scope as Google Translate does. Google Translate came out second and ChatGPT only third. It does create a very fluent answer if you use it for translation, but it's not as accurate as the traditional translating tools. So now I would like to say a few words about Hagen itself and what possibilities it holds for the future. As I mentioned in this video, YouTube is already getting AI-powered dubbing. It's called Aloud, so content creators can use this already. But I think it's very likely that they are going to use something like Hagen in the future to reach a much wider audience. Companies can use this to personalize their PR campaigns and their customer support, for example. Also, Hagen is launching the beta version of a streaming avatar, which can also be used in live chats and answer you. So a person will answer you instead of just a chatbot. And also, what is now a bit more widely discussed in the media as well, possible digital afterlife, raising a lot of more questions. But it's not all bright. As I mentioned in the video, they are already using this for fraud. The example of this Hong Kong office, which paid $25 million to scammers who have all faked themselves in a group meeting. Then there was this example of Mr. Beast offering iPhones for $2 in a deepfake TikTok video. And there was the Biden robocall urging New Hampshire residents not to cast their ballots in the Democratic primary, but Colm will talk in more details about this incident itself. However, although bad actors are already using this kind of technology, I won't be getting into the details. I will leave that to Colm. And I would like you to have a peek into the potential one last time, what this could mean for the news industry, either for those news outlets who have a niche language and want to reach a wider audience, or the big ones trying to reach the niche language audiences. If you add them up, it is a big audience, and it is definitely worth looking into it. So we have asked permission from Sky News correspondent Alex Crawford to use one of her live stand-ups and translate it with Hagen. Let's see how that turned out.
Nous comprenons qu'il s'agit d'une fille de 9 ans qui a été tuée et de 2 femmes. Il y a un certain nombre de blessures, au moins 14. many of whom have required hospital treatment. It clearly landed in a residential area. You can see some of the damage behind. Μπορείτε να δείτε ότι φαίνεται πολύ κατοικημένη περιοχή. Έτσι, εκτός από τα σπίτια, έχετε παιδικές χαρές όπου έχει πέσει κάποιο από τα ερείπια. Und hier in dieser Ecke haben Sie eine Kinderklinik. In den letzten Tagen und Wochen haben wir in der Tat gehört, dass im Verlauf dieses langwierigen Krieges eine Vielzahl von mehreren hundert Krankenhäusern und Kinderkliniken getroffen wurden. Y eso se está construyendo hacia un caso que los ucranianos esperan presentar ante la Corte Penal Internacional. Pero en los últimos días, la mejor parte de una semana, Kiev se ha despertado con sirenas e intentos de ataques con misiles, la mayoría de ellos siendo interceptados por sus sistemas de defensa aérea. І сьогодні зранку було так само. 3 години ранку мешканці прокинулися, перелякані, були вбиті та поранені. І це триваюча ситуація протягом останніх кількох днів, коли все більше і більше гучності оточує початок контрнаступу. تحدثت إلى شخص من المجلس الأطلسي اليوم وهو سابق للولايات المتحدة، السفير الذي كان يحث السياسيين الأوروبيين والأمريكيين على تسريع توريدهم بالأسلحة الثقيلة. En zoals we weten heeft president Zelensky een Europese rondreis gemaakt om al zijn partners aan te sporen om sneller naar voren te komen met gelukkige wapens zoals de Challenger 2 tanks. 我们听说在与首相 Rishi Sunak 会晤后，英国人将挑战者2型坦克的承诺翻了一番，并试图推动他们的欧洲伙伴提供并迅速提供那些 F-16战机。
So that was Alex Crawford speaking for us in various languages, and that was the bright side, with the caveat that this is a demonstration. So the technology, as I said, is just not at news industry level yet. And it needs definitely human control. And I think we might be a few steps away from actually being able to implement this. And it has been long said among the experts in translation that this small gap from almost perfection to perfection might not be even reachable. So who knows what the future brings? This is a potential use case for the AI translating tools in the news industry. And before I pass it on to Colm, who will talk about the dark side and how we can possibly defend against it, I would like to draw your attention again to the Q&A section. You can find it at the bottom of the screen. We have 4 questions already. If you have any questions, just raise that there. And now, Colm, back to you.
Thanks, Andres. Second. So Andres mentioned the Joe Biden robocalls there. So I'll play a video of that.
The malarkey. We know the value of voting Democratic when our votes count. It's important that you save your vote for the November election.
So in the past few months, there have been some deep fakes in the news that are worth talking about. You had these robocalls in January in the US were made using AI to generate Joe Biden's voice, and they encourage voters to avoid voting in the New Hampshire primary. It sounds okay, you know, with Biden, it can be hard to tell sometimes. It does sound a bit robotic, but again, with Biden, you never know. So that audio was created by an individual who claimed to just want to disrupt. He had no real interest in politics. He paid an automated call company to distribute it, and they did the rest. It took him 20 minutes and cost him $1 US. Several people complained, which led the Democratic Party to investigate it and discover it, and then clarify that it was not real. Similarly, the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, AI-generated audio of him circulated on social media telling people not to attend Armistice Day celebrations in central London. Again, just audio, no video. The BBC had an investigation into this, and they traced it back to HGB News a TikTok account, who removed the video, but also made the bizarre claim that they publish both real and satirical news, which is a mix I would say you probably don't want to have. So that's two examples of when robocalls were used, or sorry, when AI was used to generate audio without permission of the person. But things get a little bit more complicated when deepfake audio is being used officially, which has happened. Mayor of New York, Eric Adams, he last year used automated calls to promote events in New York. He used AI similar to what Andras did in his video, and he used it to translate his messages into different languages, including Spanish and Yiddish. And he says he intends to continue using AI as part of his work. So we have a mix here of unofficial and official use of AI. And it's audio, so we can't visually detect that it's fake. Without video, the full context and visual clues are missing, which makes detection incredibly tough to make a final call on. So there are a lot of AI detection tools for audio. I'll put them into a toolkit. But unfortunately, the news is not good. Pointer recently done a study on them, and results weren't great. Some, like AI or not, here on the left, will give you a statement. In this case, they said that the Biden robocall was likely human. Deepfakeometer here on the right said it was 69.7% sure it was AI generated. Even still, not the kind of results you want in a newsroom. You want something a bit more solid than that. So again, the only way to know in this case is to investigate the source. If it's a robocall, are Biden's team confirming it? Have they announced it was something they would be doing? If it's circulating on social media, like Sadiq Khan's audio, who posted it first? Who are they? Can they be trusted? Questions like these to hold the material accountable. So AI video. Again, detecting AI, the good news is there are a lot of tools. We Verify is worth signing up for. It uses machine learning and AI to detect deepfakes and keeps a database of known deepfakes so we can quickly check with them. Deepware, which analyzes faces to identify signs of manipulation, doesn't do audio or anything non-face related, so it is limited in that way. And again, it has mixed results, not always 100% accurate. Illuminatory and Hive has a Chrome extension, so that's worth installing as well. Again, useful, but Hive is free to use, so worth an install, but never 100% sure. The bad news about these AI tools is that AI has complete awareness of their existence and how they work. So the better they get, the better the deepfakes get at trying to fool them, kind of entering us into an endless arms race of deepfakes and deepfake detection. So at the moment, it looks like some of the tools that are available like these aren't the complete solution, but I'm hoping before I go any further that Joachim Schmaltz from Reality Defender, who's going to speak next, can tell us a bit more about what they are doing. Reality Defender is a deepfake detection platform, and I'll let Joachim explain a bit more about it. I'll stop sharing my screen now. Welcome, Joachim.
Yes, thank you, Colm. I can share my screen. 1 second. Can you see my screen? Does it look all right? Can people see my screen? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for the kind introduction, Colm. That was a great introduction, not just for me, but also for the topic. I'll have to correct it a little bit, though, because I am not just here alone for Reality Defender, but with my colleague Mason Allen, who you'll see on the panel as well. I figured with such an audience of experts, of broadcasters across Europe, I needed some backup here. Also, I wanted to thank Andras and Colm for the brilliant points about, I would call it journalistic deepfake detection. And I call it journalistic because I think it does bring out, and it was emphasized by Colm just a couple seconds ago, the core elements of good journalism: knowing your sources, questioning the sources, fact-checking, spotting inconsistency, and much, much, much more, including, of course, complex technology. I think if I look back at the last, 40 minutes now, I think you can probably describe what Colm and Andras showed as a ensemble of models to go after, to counter disinformation and deepfake. And in a sense, that is very similar to what we do at Reality Defender. And I'll come to that in a second. But it also makes it clear that there is no secret source. There is no one source that does all of the work for you. There is always a toolbox of technology and of good journalistic activity to be able to deal with this. Why is it comparable to what we're doing? Because we're unleashing AI to detect AI, and we're doing this with an ensemble of models. It is very important to understand how AI is generated, how generative AI works, to then be able to train models to detect that. But the similarities go beyond. I think it's fair to say that looking at the last 40 minutes again, it's probably such that over the last couple of years, deep fakes were still reasonably easy to spot, but over the last 6 months, that's gone away, and I think over the next 6 months, this will be very, very unlikely to be able to detect without the use of really sophisticated technology. It was quite timely that both the BBC and the Guardian, and I'm sure that didn't just happen here on the island, so apologies for my slightly Anglo-centric view, talked about the arms race between generative AI and AI detection, deepfake detection. We are slightly more optimistic because what we see changing, obviously, is the fake side. The real side isn't changing. And we believe that over time, we can train models that are evergreen in the sense that they do detect not just existing models, but also models that come up. However, to win this arms race, as the BBC and the Guardian say, or better, maybe not to win, but to constantly stay on top of that arms race, we're currently focusing on face-to-camera shots only. Why? Because we believe that we need to focus all our efforts to be able to get a higher confidence score with those shots rather than spread our activities too wide and then possibly not get the confidence right. So with that said, I think it's become clear that the journalistic fact-checking, which some of you heard over the last last half hour, along with content provenance, authenticity, tracing of content to the source, all of that will live side by side in what I would call a toolbox that a good newsroom will need to be equipped with alongside high-tech AI-driven platforms, detection platforms like Reality Defender. So what we plan to do is we'll take you through a bit of background. And obviously, there's a number of different companies. Colm referred to some of them. So we can only give you one view, but obviously there's lots of other views as well. And then I'll hand over to Mason to give you a bit of background, and I will then show you one video live detected on the Reality Defender platform, just to give you an example of how that can possibly work in newsrooms and how it actually already works in newsrooms like the CBS or Channel News Asia and a few other pilot customers. I hope, Mason, you can go off mute if you're there. Otherwise, I will keep talking. Mason, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. And thank you to both Colm and Andres for the excellent summation of where we are today. And I would absolutely like to add on to the fact that deepfake detection is to be used as a tool. Just like generative tools exist today, they can be used for both creativity and productivity. The great example of Eric Adams, our mayor here in New York, using artificial intelligence to spread his message to a wider audience who might speak another language is a great use of the tool. However, there is the intent piece and the context piece of deepfakes that play into that creep into media on a daily basis. So Colm mentioned a couple of the tools that exist today. We did want to highlight the generative tools that have occurred and grown over the past, really 2 years at this point, there's been an extreme Cambrian explosion, and it's for a couple of reasons. Why are deepfakes a problem now? Why are they a problem today? It starts with compute, really. Years ago, deepfakes did exist. They were just very, very hard to make. It took a computer scientist, a room full of GPUs that were incredibly expensive, and a highly technical computer scientist to be able to create something that was probably not even passable to the human eye. But as the cost of compute and also the cost of inference, basically how these machine learned models run, has come way down. The tools that exist today that are in front of you, that are just a smattering of the existing tools that use artificial intelligence today, have really proliferated. And now, as Cole mentioned earlier, the man who created the Biden deepfakes in New Hampshire, it cost him $1, and he's not technical. You know, anybody can use these tools, and they persist in a way that's easily accessible to the masses today. So we, from our experience, have seen an absolute explosion of the tools being used for deepfake creation, in this case for disinformation, but also for fraud. So there's an extreme availability of the tool, and the learning curve has absolutely dropped off. Joe, if you'd like to go to the next slide. We've covered many of the topics today around how threat vectors have increased. At Reality Defender, we actually work across all 4 major modalities, so image, audio, video, and text. Now, obviously, there's been a major indices of deepfakes that have persisted in each one of those in the past couple of weeks and years, and those that have swayed elections. We've seen that in Taiwan earlier this year, in Slovakia last year, to much more consumer-focused deepfakes of Taylor Swift on X and Twitter previously. And the way that we're looking at deepfake detection, we absolutely agree that it is an arms race. We look at it as the corollary to an antiviral software, where the generative tools that exist today will continue to improve, and they'll improve at a faster and faster rate. And therefore, for companies like ours, it's imperative that we concentrate solely on deepfake detection, and even across all modalities might be a little bit broad to be really, really good. So as Joe mentioned, from a image and video perspective, we're focusing on faces because we want to get really, really good at faces. Faces, of course, are attached to identity, which can be attached to fraud and disinformation of known individuals. So as we think about what is needed to stay ahead or to stay at pace with the generative tools that exist today, what I think journalists should be looking for when it comes to who they partner with from a disinformation detection perspective is a team with a broad depth of engineering knowledge and talent, and PhDs who are staying in the research and knowing what platforms come about that are becoming more popular even before they become capable on the platforms that exist today, that the likes of the previous slide. So I think that's going to be super imperative as we move forward. Yeah, just as the slide mentions, there's a $1 trillion problem that has the potential of occurring. So we focus on deepfake detection from 3 levels, and this is an interesting time to bring up how deepfake detection can work in the newsroom. Several of our customers today will use the web application, which Joe will show here in a minute, when they have media that's been identified as something maybe atypical that they want to get a little bit more information on. And one thing that Joe will show here in a minute is in our experience in working with journalists and the editorial teams that exist. Perhaps there's social news gathering teams who are bringing media to the light of the newsroom to report upon for a given story. They're looking for more information than a simple deepfake detected or not detected. So they're looking for probabilistic inference. They're looking for a little bit more reasoning as to where, why, and how this deepfake may have been created and for what purposes. So knowing that and taking that feedback into account, we've been able to augment the results that we're providing to show where exactly within a given frame in a video deepfake has been detected around the facial region and perhaps around explainability of why this could have existed or why the models are making the decisions that they're making to give more information to the end user. That's the web application. There's, of course, where we would like to go with this is a much more proactive approach where we're built into the workflow of the newsroom, whether that's via a media aggregation engine or a news desk where all incoming media is scanned and those proactive reports are provided to the news teams as they move forward and are reporting upon the news set of the day. So just like what was mentioned during the beginning of this webinar, the ability for news to be gathered, but also to be inspected at a more finite level, whether that be using geoinformation tools, but also deepfake tools. If we can deepfake detection tools, if we can do that in a proactive approach using the integration capability of APIs, then the journalist's job becomes much easier. And as I said before, we're looking at a multimodal coverage. And Joe, if you go to the next slide, I think it's even more useful to focus here. When we say multimodal, we also mean multi-model in that, as we believe in the deepfake detection arms race, as we'll continue to call it, we use not one model but multiple models for each modality. So within image, video, and audio, we've addressed each threat vector with its own model that's been trained on its own unique data set to identify different types of deepfakes that exist today. So within images, as the popular techniques that are used are diffusion, GAN generation, and face swap as being the original deepfake detector. Within video, which we'll show here in a second, we have two models that are looking at individual unique characteristics of video deepfakes. Lastly, the most important piece of this is an ensemble model that is really an extra layer to provide the end result that shows kind of the master score for each specific modality and unique aspect of the media that's being presented. Yeah, Joe, I think given the amount of time, it might make the most sense to hop into the demo.
Yeah, sure. Let me just share my other screen. I know we're running out of time here. Can you see my screen again? If you can just give me a thumbs up if you can. Yep. Brilliant. So thanks, Mason. I just wanted to give you a bit of a live demo, and it's very, very quick because the actual user interface, and you see this is the web app, which lives side by side with the API or the on-premise deployment here, is very simple. You upload a video, an audio, a text, or an image file, and you get a report. What is not so simple is the actual detection, which Mason was talking about. And you can see here an example video that I uploaded yesterday. And you can see this is not just it doesn't just give you a score, yes or no, but it gives you a frame by frame view on what actually happens and what we detect. Interestingly, here is the multi-model approach that that Mason was referring to. Obviously, gives different scores in different parts of the video. So if you look at this video, you can see that we're trying as much as we can to explain. You don't hear the audio. I think I didn't share that, but you can see as much as we can. We explain what's fake, what isn't fake, where we detected it, and which model actually detected that. Now, it'll be probably a bit too much, both for me as well as for everyone on the call here, to go into detail on what these models actually mean. But the idea here is to give newsrooms another tool in the box, that lives side by side all of the methodology that Colm outlined, which this does not replace at all. It gives an additional score to identify what is questionable, what has a high degree of, where we have a high degree of confidence that it's real, and what is something where we would say it's a very high likelihood that that's not, that is AI generated. I think we're pretty much on top of the hour, and Mark, I believe you wanted to get some time with questions as well. So I think that's probably as far as we should go with this demo. I'm happy to go into more detail though, if you want.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Joe and Mason, and thank you all. And as Joe says, his contact details, along with everybody else's, will be in the chat section. So please go there and make notes of those, and you can follow up with anybody who's been involved today. We do have a couple of minutes. Let's try to get to a couple of these questions and see what we can answer. First one to you, Colm. Damian would like to know, which is your preferred tool for reverse image searching?
I was using InVid for a long time, but I think that's become a bit more limited. I usually just try to use Google and then work down from there. You know, if it's Google will cast a large net first of all anyway, and then if it's more regional, I might go for the different regions. It depends what region the video is coming from sometimes, but yeah, usually that one. I'm sorry, I haven't used reverse image search for a while, to be honest, but yeah, usually that. I want to say as well, we did. There's a few more things we were going to talk about that we didn't get around to. Project Origin. I know Joe touched on provenance. There's a few more solutions to do with AI regarding basically a kind of an advanced watermark system and being able to trace back using C2PA standards where an image originated from, and then creating a kind of blockchain for where it came from. So I can send on some details about that if you want to read into it too. It doesn't really create a solution for UGC content where it's coming from social media and can go through several filters before it gets, but for stuff coming from professional photographers, like in the case of the Kate Middleton photograph, it would give information about how it's being tampered with along the way.
Good stuff. Thank you very much indeed. I'm just going to field one. Julio asked a kind of three-pronged question. The first one being really, after identifying fake news, what does ENEX do with it? And is there any kind of regulatory body or global authority on this? And the answer to that is no, really. And in terms of what ENEX does, we would see our job being to just make sure that the partners aren't using this. You know, if there is something that we feel is being used on a general basis by partners, and we've established that it is fake or untrustworthy, then we will make sure that we communicate with our partners and provide the service of debunking that, and obviously, crucially, not publishing it ourselves. Julio has a number of other points raised about the use of generative AI, and I'm going to fire those at Andras, really, who will bring in perhaps just a quick element of what we do here at ENEX. Andras, Julio makes the point that ethics are surely there to be playing a big part in any decisions you make about using generative AI, as we do at ENEX.
Yes, indeed. And we have quite strict guidelines about using specifically large language model based generative AI. It does help us, and we do use occasionally Gemini or ChatGPT to help us with polishing scripts, sometimes give us a couple of ideas for headlines. But our main guideline is that there is always going to be a human control before we publish anything for our partners. And I think that also stands for your question regarding the AI videos. As I said, it's not perfect, although it has been implemented like Mayor Adams did in New York, but it just a bit short of actual usage in the news industry. And so my take on that is currently, as it stands, it definitely needs a strong human control before releasing it to the public.
Great, thank you very much indeed. Colm Oksana asks, what would a journalist do if fake news appears in the social media output of the authorities or a recognized public figure? What would your advice be?
Well, I think verifying is fake news, first of all, but then that becomes the story, like as in again with the Kate Middleton thing, like why is this authority publishing fake news? So it leads to a complete breakdown of trust in them, which in my opinion will become a very important story that would need to be covered.
Absolutely, it becomes the story itself almost, doesn't it? Okay, and I think we're kind of at the end of the specific questions. Brouard, who I think joins us from Rudar, is looking for more information from Andras, but I think by the looks of that question, that's a bit more extensive than we have time for today. So perhaps just a final quick word, and Mason, I'll come to you as well on this. Would you say that the unifying theme of all this, all of these tools, Reality Defender included with all its power, they are there to support the work of the journalists and help them to utilize their own skills and instincts? Would that be fair?
Absolutely, Mark. That would be fair. The deepfake detection is a tool to be used, just as you said, alongside all the others that exist today. We've seen it be helpful to the journalists that we support, and look forward to also supporting more as this problem will only continue to persist and if not grow.
Mason, Joe, Colm, Andras, and all of you out there in the audience, thank you so much for being involved today. It's been fascinating for me. I hope it has for you as well. And please don't forget, all our contact details are in the chat column, so feel free to reach out. We'll be very happy to hear from you.
Thanks, Mark.
See you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks all.